I'm happy to welcome all of you to our next session of the International Campus Waldorf. And I'm very much happy to introduce Christof Wiechert, although it might not be necessary to do so. But nevertheless, just to say some words about him. He's a very much experienced class teacher for more than 30 years from the Netherlands. He has been a leader of the pedagogical section at the Goetheanum for more than 10 years. Right now, I'm honored to call him my colleague at Alanus University, where he has the position of what's your position? Senior Research Fellow. Is it right? Yeah, Senior Research Fellow at Alanus University, and of course he's very much well known to everyone as a traveler for Waldorf. So he's all over the world, going to Waldorf schools and having seminars and lectures with collegians and colleagues all over the world. And he's giving the final talk for this session of the International Campus Waldorf with this question, how Waldorf is Waldorf. I'm happy you can be here, Christof, with us, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. And we will try to talk about how Waldorf is Waldorf. It's not, I'm looking very much forward, and we will see if it makes some sense what I will bring to you. My first thing is that I want to tell you that by times the same comes back in another costume or in another manner. So, for example, in the 60s, from the last century, we suddenly had, it came from America, the so-called programmed instruction. And directly after the programmed instruction came the so-called teaching machine. And it was an enormous upheaval about that. It worked for a decade or less, and then it vanished again. And then in the 80s, it came back, the last century, with programmed learning. And now in the 21st century, you see the next wave of the same when we look at programs in computerized education, artificial intelligence, but don't underestimate the effect of the big companies who produce teaching materials. They have an enormous influence. So you see in waves coming things back. So we saw that also when we had in America the bicentennial. Then there was something about they called it in that time equalization, that everything in culture should be the same, on the same standard. That was the moment that in America they tried to, and that came of course to Europe also, that they tried to change the content of Shakespeare plays. Very famous was the striving to forbid the Merchant of Venice, because the bad guy in the Merchant of Venice, Shylock, was a Jew, and that was not appropriate to do that again, to have that. And they looked at other Shakespeare plays and saw that basically you could play Shakespeare not at all anymore. And also that striving ended. And now you see it again, that now it was the interesting thing with Romeo and Julia at the last performance of International Waldorf Campus. And today in Holland, there was the premiere of Romeo and Julia. And Romeo is done by a lady, because not because she's a lady, but because she had such an incredible, fantastic voice for that role. So you see, always our thinking, our things are revolving and revolving. Share with you a quote out of the Greek mysteries, and that is a quote about a question and two answers. The question: you strive for knowledge about yourself. Will your so called self have tomorrow more significance to the whole of mankind when you have recognized it? That is the question. And there are two answers. The first answer is no. If you are tomorrow the same as today, and your cognition of tomorrow just reflects your being of today. And the second answer is yes. If you are tomorrow another as today, and your new being tomorrow is the effect of your striving of today. And if we ask ourselves, what is Waldorf? Or how Waldorf is Waldorf? If we want to answer that question, how Waldorf is Waldorf, we have to answer the question, what is Waldorf? And we can go in these conversations now. I will not do that because our time is short. But ask yourself, if you have followed the lectures we have heard in this series, when they spoke about Waldorf, when you had the feeling that there was something in the words that had a connotation with what we are striving for in Waldorf. And I will try to go in that. And probably we can look at the next sheet now. The next one means that we look about form and content. And if we look at that, then we know, and that is well known, that the form aspect of Waldorf is not so very outspoken. Yeah, there we meet a first interesting point that for many, many years, for decades, people have thought that the form of the Waldorf school from Stuttgart was basically the given form for Waldorf at all. And we have learned, since we researched that the last 20, 30 years, that that is not the case. It was not Steiner's idea to have that form that was used in Stuttgart, and he gave several other possibilities for the format of Waldorf. For example, the possibility that he described as it should be a school that is a kind of a central school, and other schools get inspired by them, by that one school, a model school. Or he said we would have a school for the classes 1 till 8, and after the 8th grade, we would do just vocational training. That was also an idea he had. But in Stuttgart, they choose this so-called Niederösterreichisches Gymnasium-Modell. And the first thing we understand today that is not basically the idea of that is not a fixed idea. If we look at the formal side, then we say yes, main lesson books. That's very typical for Waldorf. Early second or third language instruction is very typical for Waldorf. Eurythmy is very typical for Waldorf. Heterogeneous class populations are very typical for Waldorf. No repeating classes due to intellectual performance. The tendency for large classes because of social interaction is typical for the Waldorf. And here, there you have it schedules with a hygienic structure should be part of the format of Waldorf. So you see, it's not much. You could, for example, you could add that it is in the form aspect of Waldorf. You can add that it is always methodical, multidisciplinary, and so you can multi-methodical. The Waldorf schools can use so many different methods as long as they have a certain hygienic structure. So from the form aspect, it's not so much. And those who have experience with the Waldorf idea, they often said, yeah, you can do Waldorf also in a garage and not in a perfect setting as you see that in some countries. So the formative part, the form part, is relatively simple. If we look then at the next sheet at the content, then that is a little bit more complex. If we look at the content, there are three aspects in the content. That's very interesting. There are three aspects. Content-wise, you can learn it. That's the first aspect. The second aspect, content that can be aspired to. You can get inspired by it. You can try it. You can try to do it again and again and again. That is between learning and learning by doing. And then there is a third aspect in the content that is only available in one's own inner intentions. And we will have a little bit, we will look a little bit at that, at these 3 points. Can we have the next sheet? Yeah, you can learn it. Now, you can learn a lot. This anthropological aspects, that is a huge range. Aspects from spiritual science, that is a huge range. You can study human development, you can study child development. You can look at the twofold, the threefold, the fourfold organization of man. And all you can just learn that. Yeah. And then there are very special so-called educational pedagogical specialities, a large or small-headed constitution. As you know, that has nothing to do with large or small-headed, but it has to do with how children think. Are they more image thinkers, or are they more analytic thinkers? That's that polarity. Or imaginative rich or imaginative poor children, the constitution where you see that children have an overflowing quality in images, even so that they cannot help to have no images, that always they are overwhelmed by images. Yeah. I gave always this example for myself, that when I'm vacuum cleaning downstairs, I see always that image that we clean the North Sea, and that I have a huge vacuum cleaner, and all this plastic rubbish I take out of the North Sea. The North Sea is very spoiled. Now, everyone can have this type of images, but the interesting point is, if you have this image and you do often vacuum cleaning, try to have that, to have not that image. Try to get that away, and then you see that's not so easy. So this is a constitution where you see that children are easily overwhelmed by their images. And of course, the polarity to that is that children who have they have a huge lack of images. They see nothing. If you give the title for a composition, what is beautiful in sunrise and what is wonderful in sunset, then the imaginative, then children, they start immediately to write and to write and to write, and you have then to correct it. And others, they are chewing on their pen and ask themselves, what shall I write? Yeah. It is so fascinating, but it is a speciality that is not an essential thing. Then you have this children with that comes later, so when they are 10, 12, uh, where you see that there's a constitution with earth-bound interests or more cosmic interests. You see that often in the drawings of children, if they have an earth-bound direction or more artistic cosmic direction, and then it is very fascinating if we find instruments to balance that. Yeah. And then the next speciality is that relationship between the self and the body. That is a very modern relation. You see that very often in our Western, especially in the Western society. In Asia, I have not observed that so much. That you see that the self is in a certain form captured into the body, yeah, imprisoned in the body, and then the body dictates the necessities of life, and not the self. And there is another constitution that's the opposite. There you see that the self has a very loose relation with the body. That there the self tries to give impulses for the lifestyle, and it is not able to do that. And the interesting thing is that this constitution, according to Steiner at least, is not a result of DNA, but is the result of how we educate children, how we do the education of children. So that is very interesting. Now, then you see that with the temperaments, uh, I always I'm always happy to tell audiences that Steiner gave this whole temperament question not to label children, but to give teachers instruments to handle large groups. Because if you recognize the temperament of a child, you recognize the temper, and you change your mood into the mood of the temperament of the child, then the child feels itself understood. And then it is much easier to handle large classes if you can adapt to the temperament of a child. Steiner is quite outspoken about that. Huh? He said, if you have the temperament of the child, the rest will show itself how that you know what to do. It's very amazing. It is an instrument to handle large groups. You recognize, so even you see that you hear the child on a distance, and the moment that's a vision of Steiner. You hear the child shouting on the corridor, and in the moment you hear the child, you have the image of his temperament. That is what Steiner hoped that we would do. But that is not so easy because we have our own temperament, and often that own temperament is a kind of a shade in front of the recognition of the temperament of the child. Now, this is something where you see where we are on the content side of Waldorf. Can we see the next sheet? Yeah, yeah. And then you understand that it would be very easy now to give you the 7 virtues Steiner gave for the teacher's profession, and I will not do that. I will show you how one of our colleagues, if we could get the next sheet, how one of our colleagues described these 7 virtues by Steiner. The quotes I give you now are from our colleague Walter Riedmüller. and I witnessed a lecture from him at the Alanus Hochschule, and it was amazing. The first, uh, the first one is so fantastic. He said, "This Walter." I quote now Walter Riedmüller. He said, "Decide what kind of temperament you want to have." It goes back to an interesting moment in the first Waldorf school. A group of foreign language teachers were standing together and they were bad mouthing children in class 7. They are so terrible. It is so terrible. And Steiner passed by, stopped for a moment, and said to these teachers, "Try to decide to have a sanguine temperament." So it is so fascinating. A grown-up person, a person who understands a little bit from education, is able to transform his temperament, at least when he is in front of class, to have other temperament than his usual temperament. Decide what kind of temperament you want to have. This is a wonderful exercise, I tell you. It is fascinating. And if you try, you see you see you see other things than when you look through the eyes of your own temperament. It's really worth to try. And then Walter Riedmüller continues. He said, "Stop with the usual criticism. If you are in the interval in the teacher's room, it's not always nice to be there. You hear so much criticism about children, about colleagues, about parents, about everything in the world. Stop the usual criticism. Just change yourself. Don't do that." Yeah, this is Walter Riedmüller. Huh? Develop a natural, develop a natural, normal authority, with the accent on normal, a normal authority, not the authority we have in mind when we think about authority, but just a natural, normal authority. Convey an understanding of the world through images. Yeah, show, give, use images to explain the world. Don't be abstract. Yeah, I have a very interesting. I read shortly ago a very interesting quote in the so-called lectures for young doctors. I have not read these lectures because I'm not a doctor, but I saw that quote, and that quote was this: that Steiner said, "Listen, if you have a moral impulse, if there is a moral impulse to do this or that, then he said that has physiological effects. And the physiological effect is that the, the temperature of your warmth organism rises a little bit. And that other physiological qualities in yourself are like opening, yeah, blooming somehow." And then he continues and said, "The moment you go in abstract conversations, that all is dead." I had always the experience when I taught, when I did not find the right words and I started to be abstract, and it was as if I had sand in my mouth. Yeah. So that is, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Try to understand the child not by the children, not by their performance, but by their nature. And that is today something amazing. Huh? More and more, you see that the outside of the children, that is a very interesting aspect. more and more we see that the outside of the children is, you see that also in the high school, is not in correspondence with the inner qualities. In other words, it's more and more, there's more and more a gap between the inner capacities and that what the children perform from the outside. We see that in the from class 6, 7 on, you see that very strong, that the inner quality is another quality than the quality the children show. And in the context of this idea, of this reality, Steiner said, our education should develop something as a prophecy, something as a prophecy. And there I can tell you a nice story, a little story. I had a colleague, and she prepared herself. She was a good one. She prepared herself for class 1. And she was a little bit nervous what kind of children she would have there. So she went into the kindergartens where the majority of the children were who would be in a couple of months in her class. But she did it in a way that the children did not know that she would be the future class teacher. Very wise. So the children didn't know it, but she observed these children. And after this observation, she made some notes. Now, you know what happens, the normal thing. Times flew by, she had that class, she did that well, 8 years. There was a nice farewell, she did her job wonderful. Then the high school came, and after high school, there was a party where the students from class 13, it was then class 13, invited the teachers, the former teachers, the high school teachers, all the teachers, for a party. And they invited also their former class teacher. So she got that invitation and thought, did I not have had some notes so many years ago, 13 years ago? I must have some notes. And she looked and she went through all her papers, and indeed she found the notes she wrote about these children when she saw these children who are now after class 13, when they were still in kindergarten, and she had made some notes about how they would develop. And she was amazed how accurate her observations were. She was a little bit shocked. It was like a kind of a prophecy that she saw this quality, such a quality in these children that would develop into that direction or that direction. Now imagine you have a teacher who has such thoughts, and it would be very interesting to research how is the effect on the children of a teacher who is having this type of thoughts also. Apart from the fact that he is, of course, or she a good teacher, because we easily forget that that is the basis of all, that we have good teachers. Yeah, that is, yeah. So try to understand the child not by their performance, but by their nature. Yeah, and then it continues in the next sheet. Be human in all your actions, both in and outside the classroom. Yeah. Be human in all your actions. That's so amazing. And what does that mean? These are still the quotes by Walter Riedmüller, by the way. Be human in all your actions. That means be in balance with the reality. Act, not overact in that direction, not underact in that direction. Be in balance with that what you are inside, but also outside the classroom. Yeah, yeah. Now, the next, be clear headed. Yeah, Try to be have a clear mind. So important today, especially when we have our conversations with parents, that they experience that we are not only the expert of class, but that we try to be also kind of an expert of life. Yeah, a little bit expert of life. Strive to be an all-rounder. Strive to be an all-rounder. A little bit expert of life. This is an interesting point. I will show you this. We always talk about the art of education. We always talk about the art of education. Yeah. What is now the art of education? And everyone can explain what it is. And if you look in the classes, then there is not so much art of education. So what is that? Why that is so difficult? Why it is so difficult to be an artist, an educational artist? And my idea is that that is today more and more not so easy because there is an art, another art, we are not so good at it. And that is the art of life, the art of maintaining your life to cope with the necessities of life. And there you enter that aspect, the third aspect of the content, where you what is not so easy to learn, what can be of inspiration, but also that inspiration will not help you if you are not doing it. And there is a very interesting point. I would like to share that with you. That is that Steiner said, yeah, if you want to do something that really makes sense, then you have to fulfill certain conditions. You have to fulfill certain conditions in what I call the art of life. It's a very interesting point. You find it on page 100 in that book from Steiner about self-education. The first point of that is, and I understand it as the art of life. First point is look at your health. What you could do, what every one of us could do for a good health. And of course, that is a contradiction because health is for a big part given. But how you handle that, what is given? Do you live for that, what was given? Or you try to avoid that or to give it another position? Or how you handle your health? And strange enough, when Steiner gives that as an example for the art of life, then he said the biggest big problem in this point, in this quality, is how to handle your in the relation with your health, how to handle your energy. And then he comes to amazing quotes that he said, yeah, we all of us think we work very hard. Everyone thinks that. And now the big question is that true? Do we really work so hard? And what you do with your free time, is your free time in relation with the time you work, or is that a total different point of your life? If your free time, if your private time, if the time you are not in charge of your profession, if that is something totally different from what you do in your profession, That is a big risk. How you balance that what is free time with that what is work life. And I personally see there a big problem. People who, and that's very actual today. Yeah, I need, of course, I need also my private sphere. We all know a little bit of these moments. We know them a little bit. Uh, Very much, we have heard often this story that Waldorf teachers directly when the summer holiday starts, they get ill because they allowed themselves to fall in that gap of doing nothing. And my wife understood that very well. And the moment the summer holiday starts, she overloaded me with tasks within the family, and I never get ill anymore. So that is this balance between what is private, what is work. Probably it should be not such a not it should be not so divided as today we defend this division somehow. So this whole quality about how to handle your health and what is really hard work. Yeah, in the conversations with Steiner, you find that place where he said, yeah, those who really, and I have had that experience for more than 50 years. Those who are really the hard workers, they are seldom ill or never. That's very interesting. Now, that's point one. The second one of this art of life, this this is that you experience in yourself that you are part of a society and that you are not alone. And strange enough, Steiner gave for this educational example. And the example he gave was imagine a class of children is not doing what you want that they do. And you know that it is very often that we think that, oh, stupid children, and why they don't do that, and I have prepared myself so well. Blah, 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 blah. No, he said, imagine the moment you have this reaction, and we, of course, say that never of us will do that like this. No one. But the moment you have this reaction, stupid children, I do so well, you shape a distance between yourself and the reality. The moment you think what I could have done different, you are united with your class. This is a very, very interesting moment. Yeah. Yeah. Be aware that you are part of a social reality. You are never alone. That's the second quality. The third element in this is be aware. And that awareness is very nearby, I guess. More and more you can experience that this awareness that you feel, that what you think and what you feel, that your emotions and your feelings, your intellectual thoughts, that what you think, that is basically just a reality as the physical reality around you. That is amazing. Yeah? What you think matters, and what you speak and what you feel matters. Yeah, yeah, that is very interesting. And the next point in this art of living is this element that you experience that the true being of the other is on the inside and not on the outside. And how often it happens that, at least when I look at myself, how often it happens that you judge the other from the outside, from how he is, how he performs, and so on. And the real true being is on the inside. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have had that experience a couple of times in my career that I saw colleagues who were not very good in the practicalities of their education, but they were so earnest in their striving that in the end they made the difference. That's so amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the true being is on the inside of the other of your college. It's not on the outside. And the next element in this art of life, in this art of living, is this that you should maintain a certain quality of strictness again about your own performance, about your own decisions. That if you have decided this is what I do, that you really do it, and not one day you do it and the next day you have forgotten it, and the day after you remember, oh yes, no, I should do it, and so on. No, that there is a line, that there is a certain strictness in your and a certain strictness and logic in your actions. Yeah, yeah, a strictness and logic in your actions. And the next element is that this wonderful element of the positivity about your own biography, that everything that happens to you is part of you, and that everything has, uh, let's say, its own wisdom. That is what Riedmüller in the second point mentioned. Stop that criticism. Stop this endless criticizing each other. You isolate yourself. No, what we need is that you have this immense awareness that your life is a composition, and that you have to be obedient to that composition. Yeah, yeah. That you have to be obedient to that composition. Yeah, it's quite amazing. And then Steiner ended that when saying try to have all these aspects as a kind of inner behavior, as a kind of inner behavior towards yourself. Yeah. And to be honest, I was a little bit shocked when in the last contribution, I know in this series we never criticize each other, so I will not criticize anything. But I was a little bit shocked when in the last contribution, the contributor said, spoke about progressive schools or modern schools. So for me, a progressive school or a modern school is a school where teachers try to live according to these elements of the art of living. And I think these elements of the art of living are a kind of precondition to have the freedom, the openness to get inspired to the art of education. That you have so many context around you when you are teaching, yeah, that you start to be creative and original. In the teacher training, we always say, oh, you have to prepare, you have to prepare, you have to prepare. Of course, we have to prepare, but not too much. I have often seen that a teacher thinks that a good morning lesson or a subject lesson or whatever happens if he can perform his preparation. And there is always this fear that that will be interrupted by naughty boys. I think we should prepare less, probably 50% less, and create in ourselves this space that things can happen. And there we touch on this last part of what is Waldorf, on this last part that is very difficult to grasp. But I will try for you to grasp that. When I teach in Stuttgart, I give the students always an interesting task, and I say, you don't prepare the morning to start, but go to school and try to get inspired by the way from home to school, that you have that you experience there's something that would be worth to open the day, to start with. I tell you, you need some courage for that. And it is much easier to fix every detail of the morning so that you are secure. No, have this openness. What on the way to school you experience, what you could use. A wonderful autumn leaf you find, or now in autumn, this rain of chestnuts, or something else, or a little poem that came up into your mind. So have the courage to make the start of the day unique. That the day gets a quality that gets its own quality. And not the standard every day we start with that. Then we start with singing, then we play flute, then we do that, then we do that. No, try to experience the uniqueness of the day. And then step by step, you ask the children what you have experienced, what shall we do, how it was, and try to find the inspiration. I'm always so unhappy when children come home after a day and the caretaker or the mother or who they prepare a cup of tea and how was it in school? And then the standard answer, okay. Yeah. So in other words, was the day worth living? Was there a moment of uniqueness? And there we have a little problem in the Waldorf school because I would like to say it like this. Are we prepared that our children have this, what I call this learning experience? That they experience, oh, today I have learned this. And there the Waldorf schools often shoot themselves in their own foot, because normally a class teacher ends his job after main lesson. I just got an alarming quote from a school in Switzerland where the teacher said, "Yeah, we are willing to do the main lesson, but after main lesson we are done. It is too much. But of course we want to have the full salary." So they see their task just for the main lesson, and that's absolutely crazy. Because a teacher should be also available at the end of the day and talk with his children. You can do that from class 1 on. Yeah, and ask the children, now children, what we have learned today. What was special today? What was the uniqueness of this day? Was it there? That's what I call the learning experience. For security reasons, I say it also in German. Das Lernerlebnis. And this learning experience, you can be sure from it comes a health-giving quality. But a day that is precisely that the Wednesday is precisely at the Tuesday, and the Tuesday is precisely the Monday, and after Wednesday the Thursday come, and all these days are more or less the same. It's so unartistic. It's so so unchildlike. So here we enter that element, the third element, that is not so easy to grasp, that is not so easy to explain, that is much more in the intentional sphere, that is in the sphere that you not so easy can learn. Even if you try to get inspired by it, then you don't have it. And that's my last point, what I would like to talk with you. Can we develop in our faculties a mood of research and experiment? Can we give each other the freedom to do an experiment, to do things different, and talk with each other that we have tried to do it different? I think that is so important that we refresh ourselves by making the everyday new. Yeah, I think that's very important. Steiner gave for the teacher's profession two meditations, basically three, and what these meditations do, that is very interesting. Uh, I have a I have a horrible image for that, but I will give it to you. These meditations are like a oil drill. If you see, when they search for oil, they drill into the ground, into the rocks, into the soil, and they drill always at the same place. And then one is done, then the next one comes. It goes always deeper and deeper and deeper, till suddenly the condensed sunlight jumps out. That's then the oil. And that is basically an image for meditation. That means you do every day the same thoughts, the same procedures in your thoughts. You do it again and again and again and again. Precisely the opposite from what I said before. You do it again and again and again and again. And sooner or later, you see, sooner or later, the well opens. But the opening does not come in your mind. At least that's my experience. The opening comes that that is certain, and that is such a wonderful experience, that a certain security happens in that what you do. Suddenly you do it before you have thought it. And while doing it, you think about it and you see, yeah, that's just the right moment. And we can ask ourselves why Steiner gave these meditations, where he did it. Yeah, that is a very interesting question. And if you research that, then you come always on the same things. I just quote for you the very first sentence of the this book's study of man, where Steiner said, "Yeah, education is not only an intellectual and emotional undertaking. No, it is in the highest form a moral thing." And I think that is what we cannot learn. You can only handle yourself in this way that you that what you do, you hope that will be has a status of morality when you try to work on this inner side of your being, so that you are not only a good teacher, but that also something of this element of prophecy comes to you. We need that very much today. We are we are in our, yeah, in the way we think, in the way we research, in the way we talk, in the way we act, we are so deeply rooted today in let's say only the physical reality, that it is very difficult to think about, to engage yourself into other realities, or just to have the feeling that other realities are available. And that is in that point, I feel a certain, uh, immense responsibility towards each other. I will end with an interesting little story. Once the first teachers wanted to have a spiritual content for themselves. That was in the time of Steiner. And they asked Steiner, can we have a meditative content just for us? And then Steiner tried to understand that. And he said, I do not know what you want. You have the children's service, you have the meditation. What are you looking for? And yeah, they were looking for something that a spiritual content could be experienced in the faculty. And then Steiner said, I will not give that. But you are, because you are in the faculty, a series of individuals, and you are not united. There is not a social, uh, there is not a social reality in our faculty that could handle such a content. And I think uh, 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 the future of the Waldorf School will also depend from the fact, can we organize, can we find instruments to revive, to revitalize, to give the to revive the quality of the faculty meetings, that they become a moment where the inspiration of what is Waldorf lives between us. Now, that is what I wanted to say this evening. Joost, I give back to you. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Christoph.
Yeah.
So we have a bit of a time to have a dialogue.
I see on my screen a lot of movement, but
Yes, they say all thank you. It's appreciation for you.
okay.
They liked it.
So it's not a problem of my screen.
No, no.
But I see Liz Bevan.
Yes.
raised her hand.
Before you come, Liz, I just quote Ines in the chat. She asked, "Can you please give examples of not being abstract and instead of giving images? Can you give a few images about it?" So she asks about, you know, might be a bit difficult because every image is some kind of an inspiration. You cannot just give them, but maybe you have something.
Yeah. 7 minutes ago, I gave one when I compared the activity of meditation with oil drilling. That is the image.
Okay, Liz, now it's you. You are muted.
Thank you so much, Christof. I have a very particular question, and that is the temperaments. I don't know whether it is just something in the United States, but they are used well beyond what you described as a way, I think, of categorizing and of frankly excusing poor adult behavior. Oh, it's because I'm so choleric, I'm so whatever. It seems to me this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what was actually intended here, and I'm just very interested to know more.
Yeah, it's simple. I cannot say more than what I quoted by Steiner. Steiner said, I have given this whole business, this is the original quote, I have given this whole business about the temperaments just to handle large groups of children. And I gave you some examples how you can understand that. It is nothing about categorizing. It's so easy to do that. You see that also teachers can give wonderful lectures about temperaments, but when they teach in class, you see nothing about temperaments, how they handle the temperaments with the children. That's one thing. And the other thing is this quote by Walter Riedmüller, where he said, yeah, we adults are obliged to handle our own character in a way that we can change our temperament. Now, what shall you say more? And yeah. But of course, I mean, the Waldorf School is more than 100 years old, so we have to deal with endless forms of misunderstandings. And you probably know that I have specialized in Waldorf misunderstandings.
Yes, thank
I will
you.
not go there now, but just temperaments is to handle big classes. Isn't that a wonderful idea? Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I cannot say more. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's particularly American, this, well, what can I do? I am such and such a temperament, rather than we are the masters of overcoming and integrating temperaments as adults.
Yeah, I think, Liz, this is more or less a world phenomenon. Yeah, yeah. There is a world phenomenon. I can tell you that is this phenomenon. Can we read well? Can we read Steiner well? That's a world phenomenon. Yeah.
Dirk.
Yes, Christoph, just one comment regarding the temperaments. Um, isn't it also true that the idea of placing or seating the same temperaments right next to each other in classroom, that's an idea you also find in homeopathy and homeopathic medicaments to
Yeah,
cure one with the very same.
yeah,
Because when
that's
I
true.
recall my school time in primary school in Germany here, the teachers always placed one boy next to one girl, silent girl, and then a naughty boy, and then next again boy and girl, and all this. The idea is,
Yeah.
like in allopathy, to cure one thing with the opposite. And so this is what I especially like of the idea of placing same temperaments right next to each other.
Derek, you're absolutely right. I did not mention it because there is not reality today where you see that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We are far away from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat from Jin. How can we as teachers keep a balance between intellectual and spiritual development when we teach in high school?
Joost, please, that question again.
How can we as teachers keep a balance between intellectual and spiritual development when we teach in high school?
Yeah, now I'm very happy with this quote, with this question. That is also a misunderstanding. It is a fantastic misunderstanding that would be a difference. If you have if you follow these three steps, then you see that when you teach in high school, then it shows itself how you do it. And intellectual teaching is not an opposition to a spiritual development or spiritual reality. Absolutely not. It's one and the same. I hear that so often, and I'm getting so tired by it that high school teachers always say, yeah, Waldorf is wonderful, but we have to deal with examinations and we have to do this and that. Yeah, what is now the art of education? That you just combine that you just do the intellectual stuff and the learning abilities and whatever, and be in the reality of the Waldorf school. It's so sick to say that is different. Now, sick, I will not say sick, but it makes life so much difficult if you think in these polarities. Just the high school teachers, I'm sure Dirk knows about it. Just the high school teachers, they have this quality that they do all this intellectual learning. I don't think is that now so special intellectual, but that they do all this learning in the setting of the art of education. It's nothing different.
Maybe
I give an
Christoph,
example.
just to
In Holland we have had from the very beginning always state examinations for the so-called abitur or A levels or how you want to call it. Always the state examinations. And we have easily adapt to it. And our performance is okay.
maybe Christoph, just to trigger you a bit, what might be behind that question is that is a common experience of our time, that you have a profession and a job and you fulfill all the requirements of a job, and that you so often have the feeling, you spoke about that question of how is your private life also, that you have some kind of having an alienation to what you really want and what you think you really are. So we do something in our life, but we always have a slight feeling we are missing something. We are missing the point of what we really want. So we feel some kind of being a stranger to our own life. And this counts also for Waldorf teachers, not only for meaningless jobs. And maybe this is behind that question that we are longing for a spiritual life, but we don't know how to introduce it in our normal life.
Yeah. I understand what you mean, and I think you're right. Yeah, we always have to deal with that polarity, the ideals and how we fulfill them. And there's always a gap. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it is.
Are there other questions? I just have a look. Yeah, this is something for you, Christoph. How to handle super noisy middle classes as a new foreign language teacher?
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Now let them make noise. And you stay there. And the moment comes that they get silent because making only noise is not interesting. So you stay there and you wait. and you are not raising your voice. You speak in a low voice, in a soft voice. Hello, I'm here. Shall we talk with each other? So you find something, or you sing, or you start to sing a song, or you just sit and wait and look at your watch, how many time it takes. Yeah, but be not afraid. Just see it as a game, and then you say, "No, today I waited for 7 minutes. Probably I wait tomorrow for 6 minutes. Who knows?" Yeah.
Ulrike.
Yeah, this fear for middle classes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christof. Those were
Ah,
very interesting thoughts. I wanted to, it's not so much a question, it's a thought. When you say this division between life and work, so have this feeling that we don't want to divide that so much. On the one hand, I very much agree. The more you love your work, the easier it is to do it. On the other hand, today life has changed very much. And I think the conditions under which people live today, when I look at my younger colleagues, being single parent fathers or mothers, or living in this whole noisy surrounding, I think that is very different to being maybe a class teacher and having somebody at home who cares for you, and as it was like 20, 30 years ago. And so often these young people also experience their parents as working all the time, not differentiating between work and family life, and they come with different pictures. So I think it would always be also be a challenge to how can we manage that? So how can we have a good work-life balance and still have this enthusiasm for work that you probably meant, but acknowledge that life has changed?
I take that opportunity to just have an announcement. I put it into the chat. This is a conference which is going to be started at Harvard University Monday, Tuesday next week. It's about Steiner's 100th anniversary of death, memorial of death. And this is a big conference with more than 50 contributions from this group. It's Martin and me. We will present a paper there. And you can always register for online, as an online attendance for that conference. And yeah, have a look at it if you're interested in it. I think it's a wonderful situation, a wonderful thing that can take place at Harvard University. And it's Monday, Tuesday next week. And Martin and me, we will go to Boston and join it personally. But many speakers will also present it via online.
Ulrike, I think your question or your comment is very true, but you begin with a very interesting thing. You started saying if people love their job. If people love their job, then you find solutions. I'm absolutely sure. If they to love their job, then I think they should look for another job. And I know I'm still living, and I do not live the life of 30 years ago or 50 years ago. I see what happens around me. We have, for example, in Holland, we have no class teachers that teach from 1 till 6. We have couples who do it, or other forms, and we are learning to handle these other forms. And we are in a constant mode of looking how we can optimize the social reality in the families and the social reality at school. But the basis is that you love this job. So we see dual jobs, teachers who together do a class. There is a future in it, I tell you. I have a lot, quite of my grandchildren are experienced this now, and that has good chances.
Yeah, I think that's good what you said, that we need to find new forms, right? We also have class teacher teams because the children are also different today. So it's sort of to combine the good old idea of loving your job, your life, but also realizing where your limits in power energy are.
Yeah, now
and develop new forms.
This is very interesting what you bring. Therefore, I brought these conditions of the art of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we basically that's the essence of the question. Are we able to maintain a healthy lifestyle? And if we have that, we can do this job.
Yeah.
But that is today a search. That is not given. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see that on all places now. Yeah.
Can I say one more sentence? Just what I thought is really good that you said form is not Waldorf, or it's not the essence of Waldorf, because I think that also answers the question just in the chat. It is not the form, it is the sort of the content. And so thank you very much for that.
Okay.
There's one question from Jin. It seems to be a bit general, so it's like a topic for a new lecture. What makes a school to be a Waldorf school? Give us a short answer for that, Christof.
Yeah. Yeah. That there is much more chaos, creativity, and uncertainty than we have today. We have today so much structure. We are so overstructured, and we have so much security forms. We should, if we could do Waldorf again, we would just start from scratch with just creating our education. But everything is fixed. I give you an example. Yeah. Don't misunderstand what I say now. It could be easily misunderstood. But I think all the mentors should get killed. All these mentors in the schools are a horror. Because what they do, they tell you how to do it. But you should find out it yourself. Give new teachers the freedom to find out themselves how to do it. And if they have a question, then they say, go to him and ask him. But these mentors, they bring you in a harness of how it has to be done. It is so. No, that was not the question. Huh? The question was, I would say, much more chaos, much more fun, much more uncertainty, and much more fun. Yeah, much more fun for teachers and children, and probably also parents. Yeah. We are overstructured. Not only Waldorf schools, the state schools are precisely like that.
There's a question from Pavel, or a hand rising.
Yes, so I think you maybe partially already answered my question, because my question is, can children with like autistic issues like do well in Waldorf? But yeah, because it's mostly like chaos.
Now, you mean autistic children?
Yeah, or like not completely, like more with ASD or something.
Yeah. Now, the general experience I have had in this last 50 years is that till the middle of the spectrum, from the beginning till the middle of the spectrum, we can handle autistic children or children with autistic tendencies very well, if we do it well. Over the middle, it becomes difficult.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are ongoing nice comments right now in the chat. Let that stay as it is. They are quite wonderful to read, and this just shows me how much inspiration is in this Zoom room, and we are connected in that sphere of inspiration. And I take that as an opportunity to finish this session of the International Campus Waldorf. And first of all, I would like to thank you, Christof, for your last contribution and those wonderful, ideas you gave. What does it mean to be a Waldorf teacher and how can we work on it? Thank you very much. And of course, I would like to say thank you to all the people who have given their presentations. Some of them are with us right now, Sven and Dirk and Ulrike and Martin. Don't know whom I've seen right now. Thank you so much for giving your contributions almost every session of the International Campus Waldorf. Thank you, Rosa, and please tell Lisa too for supporting us technically all the time. And yes, thank you as a group of participants that you joined that Waldorf Tuesday evening family we have created. It was a pleasure to see you all again. And I'm always astonished and really touched how it is possible in a format like that to have a wonderful conversation. So it's just a talk at a kitchen table, sometimes 4 people together, but we are more than 100 often. So this is quite a quality I really appreciate. And I don't want to end without give you a hint what's coming next. It's just a working title. I will put it into the chat. This is something we want to present next autumn, 26. Come on, like this. So Waldorf methods and Waldorf tools. What are they? How are they used? What are they intended to achieve? So we want to have a look a bit more in the specifics of what we're doing and how we do something. What do we use? Blackboard drawings, movements like eurythmy or movements in mathematics and narratives and images. So we have so many specific tools and methods which only are applied to Waldorf. And I would like to have a bit to go deeper into it and have an overview, and we'll see what comes up. But I think it would be nice just to talk about it and have a bit of a clarity. And sometimes it will be also the question how to learn those tools. They're not just tools which are given, but there's a certain skill and ability to be developed to have those tools available. And this is also something I would like to address in our next session. So it will be a long time, more than 9 months, and then we can come together again, I hope, in this group. And thank you so much. Have a nice Christmas time, whoever has a Christmas party, and all the best for 26 for you. It was a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank